Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. Predator Hunting Grounds, the free trial weekend which ran from March 27th through the 29th is officially behind us. I'm currently filming this on the 7th of April and yeah, I waited about a week to do this video. For those who are new to the channel or who just haven't jumped in the last couple of weeks, because you know, the world is crazy these days, it's practically on lockdown, so we're all distracted, right? But for those who don't know, I did a total of 7 live streams during the trial weekend. I filmed throughout the days of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday up until the literal last minute of the trial. We got kind of unlucky. We made it to midnight, and at midnight we were actually hopping in a new game. We thought that, damn, maybe if we stay in this match and stay in a private party, we could play this game throughout the night.
Emma told me to shut up. I have to shut up.
Oh, that's good.
Oops.
Prodigy's asking, is anyone a fan of UFC? If so, what's your favorite fighter? I don't know anything about UFC.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I don't know much
Bro,
about that.
I watch him in WWE, so.
I think I just got kicked out.
Yeah, I think we got kicked out.
Dang it, I thought we could get one game in. Yep, you were kicked.
Mine completely froze. Ah, they got us.
It was kind of a bummer, but honestly, 7 live streams, I put about 20 hours into the game and reached the max level for the trial, which is 25. I believe it's going to be 70 for the full game. I was satisfied at the end of it. I practically got all the armor and the dreadlocks I wanted from the Predator, and a couple things from the human customization that I was itching to get. So I was satisfied and I was content. But I needed to wait a little longer. I needed to let this game marinate. I needed to think about what was good about it, what was bad about it, and what needs to be improved for the final release. Because as big as a fan as I am of this game and of the Predator franchise, this trial had tons and tons and tons of problems. It really did. We're not even talking about the server issues, which I actually understood. Look, a lot of people were playing this game during the weekend, especially with the lockdown. You have more people than usual. It's an only multiplayer game, so I expected there to be problems. Luckily, however, Friday and Saturday, yeah, the wait time to get in games on my part was kind of crappy at times. Sometimes it was quick, but on Sunday, it was just like that. You can get into a game in less than a minute. It was great. So I'm glad they already remedied those issues by Sunday, which tells me we shouldn't really have too many problems when the full game releases. So what was wrong with the game? What was wrong with the gameplay? Now, first off, on the technical side, I was playing on a first generation PlayStation. I've heard mixed reports that the game runs better on PlayStation Pros, whether it be the first gen Pro or the latest gen Pro, but in my case, the frame rate on this game was garbage. Probably 95% of the time, I was not at 30 FPS. I was dropping to between 15 and 20, and in many cases, I dropped to single digits. What I want to stress is that I'm not really into graphics when it comes to video games. I'm looking for gameplay and I'm looking for story. I never really care about frame rate. I don't care if it's locked at 30. I don't care if it's locked at 60. The only time I care is when the frame rate is so bad that the game becomes unplayable. And there were times during those 7 live streams where I was tempted to just hop off because, especially as a human, for some reason the frame rate dropped for me significantly when I was a human. I was at single digits, okay, in an encampment, fighting, you know, the guerrilla soldiers or whatever, and as soon as the Predator drops down, starts firing his plasma caster and using the combi stick to take out the team, I'm moving like it's a slideshow, practically. It was horrible. I couldn't believe it because look, I understand it's a first-gen PlayStation, but the game is tiny. You're telling me that Red Dead Redemption 2 can run on my first-gen PlayStation at a locked 30 FPS and rarely drop, but Predator Hunting Grounds, which is not an open world game, has very small maps. Granted, the maps do have dense vegetation and foliage and, you know, the fancy lighting and whatever, but I don't think that should be an excuse. I really hope they remedy this issue when the full game releases, because honestly, if this will keep up, I'm kind of regretting buying this on PlayStation and not the Epic Game Store. I have a very powerful gaming computer, but the reason I bought it on PlayStation is because I wanted to play with you folks. And, you know, the majority of my personal friends are on PlayStation. And yes, you know, the Epic Game Store, it does have cross-play, but from what I've heard, it's only in terms of the Predator, not the Fire Team. So you're very hindered there. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on the frame rate. As I've said, I don't like talking about graphics very much, or just FPS performance, but I needed to make mention of it because, like I mentioned, it was unplayable at certain times, especially when you're the human. When you're the Predator, I think there was only one instance when it dropped to basically single digits, but usually it was between 25 and 30. Okay? At times it could go a little bit lower when you're attacking the humans, but again, for some reason, in my case, it was really only when I was playing as the humans. I don't know why. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about in terms of visuals, and again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this topic. People have been complaining that the game looks like a late PlayStation 3 game. It's kind of a double-edged sword, honestly. If you're talking character models for the soldiers, and even in some cases for the Predator, I could see it as a PlayStation 3 type of, you know, atmosphere there. But I think people are being a little bit too cruel on the graphics. Again, besides the FPS, I think the game looks really pretty, right? It's not Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Amongst others, it's not Battlefield, right? It's not the latest Call of Duties by any means, but I think for what it's trying to accomplish, it definitely does its job. What I will say is that I wish they improved the facial models of the humans, because, come on, you guys saw those in the stream. They were absolutely garbage.
Okay, so here's an assault character who looks very confused. Here's a recon character that thinks he can take on Falcon or Predator with this ridiculous outfit of his. Here's Scout, who's also confused. And here's Support, who is a juggernaut. And I think you can unlock a hat for this guy so that he can be like Jesse Ventura. Yeah, man, 87 Jungle Hunter. Okay.
Look, they look like people. It wasn't like it was a Bethesda game or something, okay? It wasn't Skyrim character models, but the way they're looking at you when you're in customization, it's like a deer in headlights. They don't know what they're looking about. Some look surprised, some look confused, some look just like they're high or something. I don't know what's with that. Not the biggest deal in the world, considering you have a lot of customization features like bandanas and glasses and full facial masks, actually, but it's something I wanted to note.
I know I have new eyewear. See, you can get these things from the field lockers, but you actually can't. I guess you still have to buy them with these coins, is the thing. But you can unlock them via the field lockers, I'm guessing. I'm gonna keep it like that. Holy shit. Can I have it? I can buy that right now for $7.50. I feel like that's kind of a waste. I'd rather spend those in-game coins on, excuse me, on...
The Predator model, on the other hand, I think it looks fantastic. One thing people have been making fun of is the Predator is always like this.
So,
He's always breathing really, really heavy and moving back and forth. I thought that was kind of funny too. This is the guy can never just stay still, you know. But I think gameplay-wise, the Predator looks good. You know, each dreadlock moves individually. It's kind of exaggerated the way it flays around when you move, and I think it's fine. It's suitable. Look, as I've said, it does its job for what it's trying to do. And with the amount of customization that you get with the Predator, it makes up for whatever tiny gripes you might have with the character model. Because again, it's very extensive, and if you're a Predator fan like myself, you're gonna have the time of your life. I was literally, when I first hopped on the game and started live streaming and taking a look at the customization, I was squealing like a little kid. That's how happy I was. So, shouldn't be too big of a deal.
And then you can... So there's different variations for each skin you choose. Damn! Armor style? Nerdgasm! It's a nerdgasm! So,
but now let's talk about the gameplay. And this is where I really have gripes. Playing as the Predator can be problematic. When you're hopping from tree to tree and climbing trunks and then maneuvering around different branches in dynamic ways that they animated for you, is 99% of the time, in my case, pretty good. There were only a handful of times where I meant to go one place to one branch, but the controls were wacky, the Predator was being wacky, had a mind of his own for some reason, and then went God knows where. It's when you're on the ground as the Predator that you literally want to kill yourself. It is terrible. So, maneuvering around the jungle, on the jungle floor as the Predator, the thing is you are not as agile or dynamic as you are in the trees. If you're a Predator and you're running through the jungle and there's an obstacle in your way, whether it's a fallen tree trunk or a car or a military truck or a giant rock or a boulder or whatever, you can't dynamically maneuver over or around that. You kind of just hit it, bounce off, and then you try jumping over it, and you kind of hit it, and then you slide off. It's very, very poor. They did not put the care and attention they did into jungle floor animations as they did the trees and maneuvering from tree to tree and whatnot. And the same can be said when you're a Predator moving through encampments. So if I pounce on enemy players who are in the encampment fighting other NPCs and you get injured and you need to escape, it can be very difficult because, again, you can't dynamically maneuver over walls or trucks or buildings, and getting through doorways can be a nightmare. It's very clunky. It's very bouncy because, again, you just hit something and bounce off of it and you don't know where to go. It's very, very poor, and I hope they remedy that for the full release because, again, it can be extremely aggravating. And the same can be said for the humans as well. I feel, okay, I can understand it with the Predator. Most of the time you're going to be in the trees anyway, but as a human, you're always on the ground. Now, it's not that the movement was bad by, as in really bad by any means, but I would have appreciated if they took a little bit more time with it and kind of implemented things that Battlefield and Call of Duty did, where you can, as I've said with the Predator, maneuver around objects, right? You can grab onto something and hop over it, right? For anything. basically, for cars, especially for boulders and fallen tree trunks and all that, because maneuvering is just so difficult as a human. The feel of playing as a human is already very heavy as it is, see? And so it just makes it even worse, right? I think there's a really simple solution to that, is just make maneuvering animations for the human players. It would make it so much easier, and honestly, a lot of the time, even when you're fighting NPCs, it can affect your gameplay a lot, your gameplay performance, because you think you can jump over something or get around something only to bounce off of it, and then you're still in the iron sights of an enemy or of the predator. So I hope they, you know, take some more time with that, patch that, create some animations to just make it easier. And look, I know a lot of this video seems like I'm getting into the negatives, but I'm doing that on purpose, because I know that no matter what, I am going to defend this game, even if it sucks. And honestly, from an unbiased perspective, it's not fantastic, but it's good. And it's not bad. It's just a good, fun game. And again, I'm going through the negatives because I'm the type of guy that's going to defend the mobile game Alien Blackout as a sequel to Alien Isolation. Okay? I know that that was the stupidest move to ever take, to go from a masterpiece like Isolation to a stupid mobile game, but I still defended it because it was Alien and it was better than nothing. So those are the negatives that I have with this game. Performance in terms of the frame rate, which again, surprisingly were terrible for me. Please let me know if you had the same issues. I was talking to a coworker of mine who was on a first-gen PlayStation. He also said that his frame rate was garbage. And the movement system for both parties, the Predator and the human, very, very poor on the jungle floor. They need to address that, and I hope I'm not the only one who's kind of complaining about this. Because remember, the company making, the developers are a rather small team, so if enough of us actually speak up about this, they could realistically change it. We're not talking about a company like Rockstar Games or Activision or Ubisoft. We're talking about a very small development team. So if you have any issues with the game, please voice it, because more improvements, the better. Now let's talk about the positives of this game. I have trashed it enough, but I hope I'm being fair. This game, playing as the Predator, feels so cool. You get a variety of weapons. Obviously, you get your plasma caster. You do get your biomask with the typical thermal vision, which, by the way, is very, very helpful. If you're not using thermal vision, use thermal vision. It actually helps, because you can get pretty lost in these maps, as small as they are. Because you're working with the jungle, a lot of things feel familiar. You get a lot of deja vu. Sometimes you're just keep going in a circle thinking you're going somewhere new. So use your thermal vision. It enhances your hearing, and when noise is being projected, whether it's gunfire or talking, there are sound waves appearing on your screen. So thermal vision is actually very helpful. In terms of other weapons, you do get things like the Smart Disc, which uses the same I wouldn't call it animation, but play style that the AVP 2010 game did. You get the severely overpowered combi stick, which can wipe out an entire fire team in seconds if they're close enough. And honestly, they don't have to be particularly close to you. The combi stick is very effective. I mean, it's a spear, right? You can just poke enemies from afar. It is an extremely overpowered weapon if you know how to use it. It took a lot of practice, but eventually I started taking out fire teams alone with the combi stick and nothing else.
Oh, you almost killed me. Ah! Jimmy, I didn't. Sorry, I'm running. Why you gotta do you like that?
You.
That's Gamma here. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. God dang it. Please don't rip up my. Help. There's the rest of time. He's at 71% health, by the way. Oh yeah, we lost. You better win this Stallone. He's behind you. He's behind you.
Nah, I'm using my brains. I'm stuck on the tree, boy. You can't catch up with me. Oh crap! This is what I did, Joe.
Oh, we got like 4 or 5 minutes left. Let's try to get one more game in.
You do have things like the net gun, which is challenging to use. You have to be really sneaky or really fast with using it, considering that fire teams stick close together. If one of you get netted, the other one can just use his knife and set you free. But it's those few seconds that matter as a predator. If you get one player, it might be just enough time to restrain the other 3. So the net gun can be useful, and it's, again, a lot of fun to use. And of course, you do get your standard wrist blades as a predator, which, I mean, they're effective, nowhere near as effective as the combi stick, but it takes a significantly lower amount of time to kill a fire team member with just your wrist blade. So keep that in mind. That's why it was kind of difficult to grind through those first few levels until you unlock the combi stick. You have things like audio mixers. That's not what they're called. They're meant to misguide fire team members by projecting a voice of a soldier that isn't their own. You have your healing kit. That's the thing I want to talk about. The healing kit is very, very accurate to the film. It really is. It takes quite a long time to heal. You have to run away as fast as you can if the fire team is tailing you and you have low health. You have to find a spot, whether it's on the jungle floor or in the trees. You have to remain invisible, and you have to make sure that no one can see you or find you within the next 20 seconds, because that's how long it basically takes to heal. Again, if you go back to the movie, that's pretty much how long it took. Healing just isn't a stim pack from Fallout. It's, I mean, they don't display it as such, but it is a complicated process for the Predator. He has to do a bunch of stuff, so that was cool. And much like the film, once you are done healing, you do your Predator Roar, which instantly gives away your position to the fire team. So there you go. That kind of hints at the balance between the two, because everybody is saying that the Predator is very, very overpowered, and he is overpowered with the combi stick, but they do create a good balance. You have a lot of giveaways as the Predator. You have very, very heavy footsteps that instantly give away your position. You're constantly making Predator noises with the, those crackling sounds and whatnot. And as I've said, you constantly are roaring, particularly when you're healing. So it's balanced. The fire team can pinpoint you very easily, so you have to be very, very careful. And you have to be quick too, because your health drains like a tub. Just like how the human's health drains like a tub when attacked by the Predator. Not so much by the NPCs, but just by the Predator. Other people have been complaining that the Predator is underpowered. That was kind of the big thing in the beginning of the trial. Towards the end, people are saying he's overpowered, but in the beginning, everybody was saying that, man, you die so easily as the Predator, and I guarantee you, everyone, including myself, you can find evidence of me saying that on stream. It was because we were so new at playing the Predator. It is incredibly difficult to get the hang of it throughout the first few levels. But by the end of the trial, myself and others were kind of slaughtering fire teams by the end of it. Once you get a hang of how the Predator maneuvers, how you can, you have that energy level thing, so how you can balance thermal vision and cloaking, because both take a lot of energy from your bar. You can, and once you learn how to use your net gun and the combi stick and the plasma caster and know how to aim appropriately and figure out different positions where the fire team won't find you, it becomes very, very balanced and almost makes you a tiny bit overpowered. Because again, that combi stick is something they might want to tone down just a little bit because it might be too quick of a kill. Okay? And again, it's a spear, so it can work long-ranged as well. And as I've noted, the energy level, right? It doesn't particularly drain like a tub, I wouldn't say. It's really only when you're spending a significant amount of time using cloaking and thermal vision that it drops down, and especially when you're using the plasma caster. So again, you have to be very conservative with your abilities as a Predator. They definitely limit you a lot, and I'm okay with that. Really. If there was no energy cap and you can just spam your cloak and your thermal vision and your plasma caster, you would be an unstoppable force. So, it's not, doesn't make you underpowered and it doesn't make you overpowered. It's a set cap that I think is pretty gosh darn fair. So, they did a good job there. Now, as a Predator, you also do have the perks system, right? There's a ton of different perks you can choose from. Some of them can, I mentioned the energy level thing can give you a perk where it's you use less of your energy. Others are in regards to the sound of your footsteps. Others are in regard to when you're, cloaked and you're running through water and how much that can drain your invisibility and stuff like that. There's a lot of different things you can work with perks. It didn't let us explore a whole lot of them. You pretty much just had maybe 4 or 5 during the trial weekend. But from what I can tell, it was just standard stuff. Perks you would expect to have as a Predator. I think one of them was, you have better range or something when you're on tree branches and targeting enemies, like a height advantage, I think it was called. But there's a bunch of different perks. I won't get too much into it, but I only want to make mention them because, again, they don't overpower you. As of yet, because we don't have access to all of them just yet. Now, what happens when you are completely out of health and you cannot just fight back any longer? You have 2 choices. Well, before we get into those 2 choices, for some reason you start glowing white like a glow stick. You really do. Once they take out all your health, you can run away, but you can't attack them any longer. You'll be glowing literally white, which allows them to track you down better when you're running away, and you're splurting green blood all over the place. But you're given 2 options while you're in that mode and running away. You can begin the wrist bomb codes and whatnot to begin the detonation, right, from the wrist computer, or you could heal, which is difficult because you're glowing white like a glow stick. Unless the fire team are a bunch of idiots and can't see you for whatever reason or don't try and hunt you down, you can run away to the other side of the map, find a nice little shady spot in some ferns and begin the healing, and then you're back to normal. But if you decide to activate the detonation on your wrist computer, that's when things can get, well, problematic for both parties.
Don't shoot me. I'm sorry. I won't kill you. God, already, I'm dead. You know what?
Oh shit, we gotta go.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap.
How do you make it blow up faster? That thing, it blew up.
You can't. There might be a perk when the full game releases, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I died. I've never got blown up in action before.
Yeah, I saw that. At least I killed 2 people.
I survived. Thank God.
So, if the fire team is effective and they've been trailing you consistently and they find you and you already ignited the detonation, or begin the detonation process, and they keep firing at you, and particularly at the head, because you have to remove the biomask. It just flicks off after a little while. They can actually stop the detonation. They can kill you before the Risk computer detonates, or they can try and perform manual de-detonation, or whatever you want to call it, by playing this little mini game with the Risk computer of matching the buttons on your controller to the what it asks you on the screen with the little codes and everything. I did not find that to be very effective. I tried several times to cancel the detonation, but it didn't work. Most of the time I came just in time and I killed the Predator before the detonation process can really begin, right? While he's typing it in and whatnot. And other cases, well, no. In that same case, if you do kill him, and there's no detonation, you get this really cool cutscene of the Predator's dead body on the ground, and the fire teams, they're happy and whatnot, and the military's arriving to collect the specimen. It's just a cool touch.
Is in excellent condition. A substantial bonus is being wired to your account.
Now here are where things can get a little bit more tricky. It depends on who's playing the Predator that the game can be fun. What I mean by that is, if I'm playing as the Predator, for example, I'm not a run and gun type of player. I think it's kind of like a role-playing experience almost. You want to take your time with it. You want to kind of taunt the fire team a little bit by firing sudden plasma caster shots at NPCs, making little Predator noises by pressing up on the D-pad and letting them know that you're near, you can't see me, but I'm watching you. And sometimes you really only strike at the very, very end. That kind of makes the gameplay a little bit more fun. You do hop in on occasion to try and single out a fire team member and kill them, and you might fail and run away, but that's kind of the fun in it, right? Not just for yourself, but for the fire team players as well. Because there were many times during a match where I'm playing as the fire team, and literally in the first minute, the Predator runs and guns and either mows us down completely with the combi stick, or we're proficient enough to take him down within the first minute or two, and then the game's over. And it's really not fun. It really isn't. Might benefit you XP-wise for leveling up, but the play factor is kind of just ruined a little bit. So in other words, take note that everybody's different. Everybody's playstyle as the Predator will vary. There will be quite a few matches where they are run and gun, they'll mow you down, or you'll mow them down, and the game's over within a minute or two. And there's other ones where you can complete all the missions as the fire team and make it to the final portion when the chopper is arriving, and maybe that's when the Predator will really jump in and try and kill you. This actually happens most of the time when we're waiting for the chopper near the waterfall, and that's when the Predator really hops in and tries his best to get as many as you as possible before some of you escape on the chopper. So I thought that was just funny. Like, the player playing the Predator is getting real nervous. He knows that, man, I got a minute before the chopper arrives. I got a run and gun. I don't care what happens. I got to kill as many of them as possible, or down them at least. There were other matches where the Predator did nothing. Literally, absolutely nothing. We got through all the missions, and all of us escaped on the chopper, and the Predator did jack squat.
looking.
So, keep in mind you might encounter some shy players as the Predator. So, and I was a little bit shy at first too. I kind of overcome my fear on my first match and run and gunned at the very end because I didn't want to just not attack and experience the Predator, but others may differ, and you might just not see the Predator at all. You might hear him, might hear his footsteps, his growls and whatnot, but there won't be a firefight. Now let's talk about customization as the Predator. It is pretty extensive. They give you a large variety of biomasks, of armor patterns, of dreadlock patterns. They give you the ability to have different skins for some of your weapons. It's pretty gosh darn cool. It really is. And of course you do have the, the normal classes. You have Scout and Berserker. I even saw Jungle Hunter there during the free trial. I did see Jungle Hunter. He was locked because, it's just the trial. You can't unlock him yet, but Jungle Hunter, I think, is his own class because he was in the class list. But the amount of biomasks they offer you is pretty awesome. None of them, unfortunately, are from the movie or from the comics. They might be inspired from the comics and the movies, but as they stand, they're all brand new. My particular favorite was actually the Fallout mask, by the way. That's what I rocked at the end of my playtime. But even though it sucks that we don't get movie masks at first, it was cool to get something, I guess, absolutely brand new. They weren't trying to rely heavily upon source material. They were trying to make it its own thing. Kind of like the dreadlocks and the skin patterns and all that. Sure, they took nods from source material, but it was all pretty much brand new, except for the Jungle Hunter, because that's, for the fans, and that's the main one. That's the 87 skin. And like I said, I squealed like a little girl when I was looking at all the different dreadlocks, the different armor patterns and the skin patterns and the masks and all this crazy stuff. It was so cool. It might not be terribly, terribly crazy extensive like other games with customization, but it is good enough for a Predator game. It is something that we never thought we'd get, but we did, and I am so happy with the customization. I really, really am. It's so cool. And yes, the big joke throughout the entire live streams was the female Predator and how she's a 10 out of 10. Minus the Pred head. That part I don't like. Rest of her is hot. But again, I was very happy with the customization. It sufficed for me. It gave me a lot of incentive to keep earning Pred coins, as I call them. They're called something else. I already forgot the name. And some of these items are pretty gosh darn expensive. So like the Fallout mask was 5,000 Pred coins. The dreadlocks I wanted were 5,000. Some of them go even over that, but they were locked. And luckily, you get a fair amount of Pred coins during matches. It's so far not too much of a grind at the moment. You play a couple of matches and you have enough to buy at least one item, and I think that's pretty fair. If they really wanted to, they can severely number the amount of coins you get per match and require you to purchase Pred coins separately as microtransactions. Luckily, so far that is not the case, and the game is more than playable, and again, the incentive to do so is pretty gosh darn fair. And the same can be said for the field lockers, which I was very, very worried about. Now, keep in mind, if you maxed out levels during the trial, you no longer got field lockers. But if you didn't, if you're like level 1 to 20 or whatever, you can get probably 10 field lockers for maybe 2 or 3 matches. Granted, a lot of the contents within those field lockers are doubles of skins and whatnot. You do have a very good chance of getting other things, like getting brand new unlocks for skin patterns, and colors, and all types of different stuff. you know, the Predator dreadlocks and whatnot. It's fair. It really is. You can purchase field lockers separately as a microtransaction if you want to, but I don't think I don't think you'll need to do that, because again, they give you more than plenty after playing just a couple of matches. Could this change when the full game releases? Absolutely. Could they rely quite heavily on field lockers? Absolutely. But we just don't know. But at the moment, so far so good, and I have no complaints. And that is pretty much playing as the Predator. Besides Easter eggs, and man, there are so many Easter eggs as playing both the human and the Predator. It is nuts. I mean, as the Predator, once you are detonating your wrist computer and it's too late and players need to evacuate the area, you start doing your maniacal laugh from the end of the first movie. Isn't that so cool? That is absolutely amazing. And I'm wondering if he even oh no, I'm not even wondering, he does that for a fact. If you stay long enough in the blast radius near the Predator, he will say, "What the hell are you?" And then he'll start laughing, you know, and then there's an explosion. It is the coolest thing ever. Clearly they put that in there for the fans, because most players would book it once the detonation has begun. They need to evacuate the area, but I stayed, I witnessed that, and that was so cool. Another thing would be the boars in the jungle. It's known that predators are meat eaters, and they eat boars. So if you find a boar running around in the jungle as a predator, you can eat them to regain health. Obviously a nod to the franchise and to the lore. Absolutely awesome. Other cool things, when you're in thermal vision, on the left side of your screen you get that red bar from the original film that kind of wiggles around when you hear different people's voices and whatnot. So very cool. Look, if you're nostalgic for the original film, you're gonna absolutely love that. It brings back such brilliant memories of my childhood watching the movie. It is absolutely brilliant. You get very, very slight crackles and sound effects from the Predator that a lot of players might kind of shrug off, but if you really listen to him, they took direct audio from the film and put it in the game. So the way the Predator sounds is the way the original 1987 Jungle Hunter sounded from the film. You really have to pay attention to those things to really understand the references and what they're trying to do, and again, incredibly fan-friendly. Look, I can go on and on with these Easter eggs, but I need to stop myself at some point. We are at 40 minutes on my end. I need to stop geeking out. Talking about this makes me even more excited for the full release. Again, look guys, this game is not made for gamers. This is what I've been telling everybody. You know, I've seen so many YouTube videos from bigger reviewers and gamer YouTubers saying, with titles that say why you shouldn't buy Predator Hunting Grounds. That's because this game isn't made for those type of people. It's made for fans. You don't have to be a hardcore fan like me who goes just absolutely above and beyond with all this stuff. You just have to be a casual fan to really appreciate this game and the care and attention they put towards the smallest of things, like those Easter eggs, to appreciate it. Don't listen to those stupid videos that are saying you shouldn't buy this game. You might want to wait. It may not be a day one release for this game, because again, it does have a lot of problems, but eventually at some point it may end up being a must-buy. Now, I know I kind of shrugged off a little bit of the human elements of the game, just because there's not a whole lot to say. There are a couple nods to a lot of the outfits and to some of the guns from the original films. Some people in the chat told me that several of the shotguns are from the original Terminator, and one of them is from the character of Royce from the 2010 Predators movie, the shotgun he used. Obviously, you have the minigun Old Painless, sported by Blaine or Jesse Ventura from the original Predator. You have his hat, actually, which is the coolest thing. And if you reach, I don't know what level you have to be, but you can get Old Painless with Predator blood on it, and it's glowing green. It is so flippin' cool.
This is my human. So I got the Jesse Ventura hat. Man, folks, look at this. Look at this. Look how amazing that looks. That is so cool. I can't wait. The old Painless unique version. Predator's blood all over it. That is awesome. Can't wait till we can actually get access to this in the trial. I mean, in the full game.
But as far as the customization goes, it's pretty standard. You have perks, you have secondaries, you have primaries, you have different kinds of grenades, you have different skins for all your weapons and your knives. You can unlock the stick-around knife that Arnold has. Pretty standard stuff. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on it because this one is, obviously we're really here to talk about the Predator gameplay. But what I want to do note is, again, while the customization could have been better for the humans, because again, I think they could, with Call of Duty and whatnot being as popular as it is, I think they could have, I guess, mirrored that a little bit better, because that's what's popular and that's kind of what players want, but it suffices, honestly. I don't have too big of a deal with it.
I can't customize it further. Maybe you can later on.
Okay, and jumping back to the Predator for just 1 minute, you can unlock the freaking Elder Predator sword from Predator 2.
Okay, so guys, look at this. The Elder sword. It's much better? Good. Yeah, I thought it was too loud. Yeah. So there you go, smart disc. So again, this looks really cool.
How cool is that? That is the first glimpse at movie customization, ladies and gentlemen. That proves that we are going to get more than just weapons from the movies, specific weapons, but specific masks and other customization, skin patterns, armor patterns. That Elder Predator sword alone, even though it wasn't available to play with because it was locked for the trial, proves so much about this game. And is an Easter egg in itself, because again, the Elder Predator didn't even sport the sword in the movie. It was sheathed the entire time in like the 1 minute of screen time he had. So, yet another Easter egg. Okay, Jimmy, you gotta stop talking about the Predators, talk about the humans, stop going back to that. Be fair. Man, shut the f*** up. Playing as the humans, in the beginning of every single match, you start out in a helicopter. Much like the original film, but more importantly, when you're ready to depart the helicopter via ropes, much like the original movie, you get this. That is... People are complaining that it can be repetitive, that every match starts the same, but it is so cool. If you're a fan, that's what I'm saying about this game. It is practically just for the fans, the nods, the Easter eggs, the little things. It's amazing. It is a literal dream come true to have this game. It has so many faults, and I criticized it fairly in the beginning, but I'm gonna suck its wiener right. Okay, I'm sorry. I love this. I love this game so much. There's so much more I can talk about. But oh, when you successfully kill the Predator, you and your other fire team member can do the classic Dutch and Dylan arm wrestling thing.
The work you've done today.
Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? My blood pressure and pulse has risen because of this game. I cannot wait for April 24th. With this lockdown and all that, I'm going to be live streaming. I'm going to try every single day. I'm going to play the F out of this game. I'm going to unlock absolutely everything. Folks, the game is broken at some points. It is, but the positives heavily outweigh the negatives. Considering that this was just a trial, we got a sneak peek. This is the tip of the iceberg. Okay? I was complaining a lot about the maps. We only had 2 jungle maps, which were very good for the trial, but we are going to get many more, and hopefully some from the movies. But, man, can April 24th just hurry up? I'm filming this again on the 7th of April. How many more days do I have to wait? Honestly, I need to jump back in. I really do. And for people who don't know, if you participated in the trial weekend on either platform, your progress will not, I repeat, will not carry over to the full release of the game. If you made it to level 25, like myself, you will start from level 0. So, just a heads up. Not a big deal. It took less than 2 days to make it to 25, so it's not really a big deal to me. And if you got a squad of friends, man, oh man, it's gonna be so much fun. And that's the last thing I want to talk about for this video. Unlike games like Halo, I know that's a poor example, but unlike games like Halo, when you're in a custom game match with friends in a private lobby with just friends, you earn the same amount of XP as you do in that private lobby as you do in public matches. So playing strictly with your friends in private lobbies will not hinder your XP whatsoever. You will still feel that same incentive. You will not feel hindered playing with your buddies at all. It will be the same exact experience, only better. Alright. Whew, okay, I need to calm down here. I need to calm down, I gotta check my pulse. Yep, that's not good. That is not good. Okay. Folks, there is more yet to come. We haven't scratched the surface of the movies, of the comics, of the Kenner toys, of anything in terms of customization or aspects of this game. We're starting with a blank slate of brand new things, and you know there's going to be more of the things I've just stated. So, to the developers of this game, fix it, because there are a lot of things wrong with it, but otherwise, you have my approval. And folks, I normally don't say this because I don't like to be cocky, but you can trust me when I'm criticizing this game. You can trust me. Don't listen to those idiots on YouTube with titles saying you shouldn't ever buy this game. There's folks like me who are criticizing it fairly. And I want to give a big shout out to Jag Reviews. For people who don't know, he's a great YouTuber. He does a lot of video game and action figure reviews, but he did a very, very, very fair video on his experience with the game, and I took a lot of hints from that. He reported on problems that I didn't even really fully acknowledge at first when playing it. So, again, look to the little guys like us for the honest feedback, because again, this game is made for the little guys. It's made for the fans. It's not made for PewDiePie. It's not made for whoever else are the big channels. I don't even know who exists anymore, but it may not be a day one release, but it is worth a pickup at some point during its lifespan. Okay, I'm done. I do apologize for how long this video took out to get. I am very scared to edit this because it's going to be an hour long. But thank you to everybody for the continuous support on the videos, your participation in the live streams. You made it a ton of fun, and there is more yet to come for the channel. NECA figure reviews and novelty reviews are on the way, among other things. There might be a little bit of a delay between videos. If you're following me on Facebook, you know my whole situation with what's going on, so keep that in mind. But I'm getting better. I'm recovering. I'm a bit shortness of breath at the moment. That's why there's a lot of cuts in this video, but I'm getting back into the feel of things. So definitely stay tuned for all that stuff, plus more live streams. And Alien Day is the 26th of April. We are celebrating virtually. Stay tuned for that. And 2 days before that, release of Predator Hunting Grounds, obviously. So you're gonna be seeing a lot more of me, folks. Before I go, here's the shirt of the day for people who couldn't see. There you go. Go check out Trophy Room on Facebook, a Facebook group created by yours truly, made for Alien Predator enthusiasts like yourselves and like myself. Feel free to post about anything about your Alien Predator collections, the lore, the comics, movies, the games, whatever. Just make it Alien Predator related, and one rule, don't be a dick. In terms of story mode, we're kind of, I guess, in the dark with that. I've heard rumors that there's going to be audio recordings that you can listen to as a story. There's been rumors that those audio recordings from various characters, maybe even Dutch, might be part of a single-player story that they've just yet to reveal. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I made previous videos about Arnold Schwarzenegger returning as Dutch for this game. I talked about story and DLC there, so it'll be absent from this video, but go check out that one. Should be linked down below if you want to hear my full thoughts on if there's going to be a story mode in this game or not. Another thing that they kind of hid from us during the trial is trophy customization. Yeah, that's a thing. They gave us a sneak peek at it. There's a trophy customization option, but you can't do anything with it. It's just there. So I don't know how that's gonna work. If you're able to pull skulls out of players and then put it on your belt and keep them there, or how that's gonna work, or if you just unlock different skull trophies from the movies, like again with Jungle Hunter and all that. I don't know. I mean, it's with Jungle Hunter because of the pre-order theme, but I don't know about other movies or what they're pulling from. So that's kind of up in the air, but trophy customization is going to be in the game. And as always, people, have a good morning, evening, midday, whatever, and take care.